Turkish saz music and to lots of African stuff, like the classic African stuff of 60s and 70s. It's a great time for Congolese music and things like that. And, you know, and that was another education, because then I learned very quickly about lots of different styles, especially Balkan music, especially the very soulful sounds of you know, Albania and things like that. This is a heart-rending stuff. And so I suddenly sort of discovered all this, you know, panoply of music. And what we were trying to do in the band is actually learning to play these things in our own style. But we had some really gifted musicians who played piano, accordions, like the strange reed flutes, and clarinets, and sax player, and yeah, I mean, and great drummer Nigel Watson, and Ben on fiddle and guitar. But very kind of, it's East African style guitar, and and bouzouki. He played bouzouki, and so this was a kind, and we put all those ingredients into this band, and we became sort of it was a bit of a cult, actually. It was good. We called ourselves Three Mustaphas 3 because we were masquerading as this family called Mustafa, 5 nephews and 1 uncle, and who had been smuggled out of their East European fictitious country called Shegarelli in refrigerators. And, you know, we had a whole story about this. And, you know, and what would be totally frowned upon today is that, you know, we were kind of talking like this, you know, and sort of, because we, in a nondescript foreign accent, because we were wanting to be our good intention was to be outsiders from everywhere. So no matter where we were, people would interview us and say, you know, well, where are you guys from? We'd just say, we're from out of town, you know, and we were. So
of course you were.
And we named ourselves after different Arabic scales. So I was Saba, and my friend Ben was Hijaz, and we all had the name Mustafa, and we wore suits and sandals and fezzes, and we were very deadpan. It was very funny. Ben was very funny as an MC and introducing and talking to the audience. He was hilariously funny, but in a real kind of with deadpan, we would never laugh.
Yeah.
And so this kind of like the audience was sort of, are these guys for real? And we did about 5 tours of the States.
Really?
Yeah, we played, first we were playing little clubs. There's actually a sort of a video on YouTube of us playing in somewhere in, where is it, North Carolina. And it's a bit like the Blues Brothers playing in the country and western bar. You know, it was sort of like there were all these people lounging at the table, never seen anything like us.
Of course.
And, you know, we'd been driving all overnight from Georgia or somewhere like that. And we were all completely zoned out. But we performed in this little club for these people. And it was funny. They really enjoyed it. In the end, at first they were going, well, you know, and then they were sort of saying things and heckling. And my friend Ben was very good at dealing with that kind of thing. So to make people laugh, and so people laughed. So it was a very entertaining band in that way. We could make you laugh. But the musicians were great, and the music when we were playing, I found was really high level, you know, and lots of fun because there was a lot of freedom involved, and we could really play. And we did a lot of gigs around Europe. We went to Japan, where it was full. People had heard of us. Actually, you go to Japan and you've got a few albums out, you know, there's always somebody who's going to have them all. So, you know, but we did about 4 or 5 good gigs in Japan. People came to see.
I wonder what the Japanese people thought about the band, because
Yeah,
then,
I don't know. I wonder too.
Never seen them before.
I wonder too. Yeah,
Okay.
but I think they knew that it was kind of a joke, but that it was the music was fun to listen to, and yeah, and in a way,
were you guys financially successful or a little
well,
bit?
we lived on it for a while. I wouldn't I wouldn't call it exactly financially successful, but you know, we came home with some money. You know, I ran into problems because we were going away quite a lot, and by that time, by 1990, I was living in Berlin, and I got married in '88 in Berlin.
Yeah,
and we had a daughter around 90. Yes, she was born 1990. I should remember that. She'll kill me. And so it was more difficult for me to go away and come for 3 months and come home with, well, not a great deal of money. You know,
right.
In terms of the fact that my wife was a journalist and could for the TV and could earn good money. So in the end, there was that commitment, and a couple of other guys in the band had run into similar kind of commitment problems. And so we stopped, and maybe that was the best time to stop, actually. It was good, but it was like for 5 years or so, it was quite a journey and a real education, because that was another band it was great to be in. Everybody sort of like had their own special intellectual interests, and so you'd end up reading a lot of books in the band, and that you wouldn't expect to, and learning stuff all the time, learning about music, but learning about, I don't know, different points of view. It's important.
I'm quite sure that people
shouldn't all be in the same echo chamber. We got to learn about different points of view.
Absolutely. I'm quite sure a lot of people all over the world send you emails or try to get a hold for the three Mustaphas. Hey, are you coming on tour again? We meet here in Tokyo or in Alaska or wherever.
We've been asked quite recently if we could get together to do some American gigs. Yeah.
Really?
But no. Anyway, two of the main guys who were really important, the percussionist and Tim, they died. So they're no longer with us, So it would.
And then you went back to Camel, right? In what?
And then, well, I mean, because in the meantime, Andy had been going through quite a bad time legally. Because I think they found out that there was some money had gone missing over the years, and so they took the ex-management to court, and but I think it was basically to do with, I don't know this, so maybe I should not speak about it. But anyway, I know that the outcome of the court case was that Andy managed to get back a good share of the writing credits and royalties that had somehow been sequestered somewhere else, and I think it was mainly for him and Peter Bardens, but Andy Ward had some credits, and so did Doug Ferguson, the original bass player. So I think that was a positive ending, but then Andy was trying to get another deal. And I think it was probably at the absolute low point of the sense of validity of prog rock, because he just couldn't get a deal. Nobody was interested, and because everything was the mood of the music had changed. So So I can't remember what else was going on, but anyway. So then that's when Andy and Susan decided to go to California from London, and to set up their own record label.
Yeah.
And luckily they were able to partner with Bertus, which was I don't know what the business is like these days, but Bertus was a big Dutch firm, not a big Dutch firm, but a very good European distributor. And it was the CD boom, you know, and so it means that, you know, artists could set up their own record labels. You could get the CDs printed, you could, you know, so I've done it myself, inspired by all that. But, you know, that was so, and that was a good move for them. And that's where he went over there and started writing the Dust and Dreams thing. Which is kind of nice because it's the story of going west and looking for your fortune. It kind of, is resonant with their situation at the time. But yeah, and so then he just called me and said, yeah, come over and do some bass parts. So I went over to California and did some bass parts and a bit of singing. Because there's a lot of musicians on that album. That's because Davey Payton is on that as well. I can't remember what he did, but anyway, I was singing some. I did some work on that. Can't exactly remember what, but and it's a very nice album. And of course, then it got good response, especially in Europe. So then there was a tour. So then we would go over to California again and then rehearse and then go out on tour. So usually in the States, actually, we'd rehearse in California, then we'd play a few gigs like the Belly Up in San Diego and like a warm-up gig in, can't remember where. And that an amazing gig where they serve people dinner first, the San Capistriano. I forget what that's called. Anyway, if that's San Capistriano is right, I'm not sure. But Capistriano, that's probably what I ate that night. San Capistriano. So yeah, but then we would go to Japan and then around Europe. Yeah. So Japan's been quite good market, really. Or let's say market. I don't know about the market, but there's lots of nice people there who come and listen to us.
Yeah. And then besides at the time, you know, in and out of Camel and all the other bands you were involved, you did, you know, 3 albums on your own, right? An Outcast of the Island,
yeah,
In the Meantime, The Well End, and they're very good albums, actually. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I think Outcast of the Islands is the one that still sells the most. Yeah. I still sell more of. But it was the biggest production. It's because, you know, I managed to spend some money on it, and I took the tapes, the 2-inch tapes, over to California in the middle. It's recorded in Poland. And then I just took the tapes over to Andy and stayed there for a week, and he just put guitars on, and we had a nice time. Then I took the tapes back and carried on recording in Poland. So that was recorded with quite a good budget over a sort of 6-week period. So, you know, when you've got a budget and when you've got time and you've got the possibility to bring in, you know, to do things and pay people, then obviously, you know, that's more satisfactory. You can get more things done. The 2 other albums, In the Meantime and At Wild End, are just recorded in my home studios at the time. In the Meantime was in Berlin, and At Wild End was done here in Wild End Studio. So, you know, these are different kind of albums. They're more personal. They're, you know, Outcast, I was definitely trying to communicate to the kind of Camel audience. And I think it was kind of successful in that way, you know. There's people still tell me they love it, you know. Yeah. And my friend in Poland, the co-producer, he recently put it out on vinyl, and so that's been selling okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of which you can get through my Bandcamp page.
Of course, yeah, I will mention that in a couple of minutes.
And also recently I did an album with, and this was kind of, it started before lockdown, but it sort of continued through that. An album with
Daniel
with Daniel Biro,
yeah.
Friend of mine, a keyboard player who I met in the 70s when I was working with the Casual Band.
Yeah, that's a very, I listened to the stuff on it entirely last night. It's a very good album, actually. Very well put together. Very good.
Thank you. I really enjoyed doing that. I mean, it's one of those typical, especially in this day and age, productions whereby Daniel's working on his songs at home. I'm working on my songs here. And then I'm sending him mine and he's sending to me his stems. And then, you know, we're talking about what it needs, and then I'll play, and then I'll suggest something, and we build these things up just going to and fro. But we kind of knew what sort of a overall feel we wanted for the album, you know. So and that helped. And just because, I don't know. I mean, I'm quite pleased with a couple of the things I did on that, my contributions. I really like Daniel's songs. And so I get to play bass and sing and write a few songs. That was good.
Any possibility of doing a part two of that album?
Yeah, we're working on it now. In fact, I've got one up on my computer right now. And basically this one is a little more, it's a little more open, a little brighter, and because it's more songs, it's some of Daniel's old songs that he never finished, and I picked up a few of mine that I didn't finish, and we sort of like said, oh, well, there's some good stuff here, well, let's rework them. And so that's what we've been doing. So it's kind of a little more AOR, you know, a little more pop influenced, but it's still got the same kind of instrumental feel. And so, you know, bass and keyboards and voices. And the only drums on the record are played by me.
Wow.
I've got a little ad hoc drum kit here. It's not a proper drum kit. I just play bass drum, snare on a cajon, and I've got a tom-tom and a cymbal and various bits of metal that I can shake. And basically we were trying to find a sound that could, you know, so fed up with drum machines, you know, it's like but also, you know, how important is the pulse? What is the pulse? And could I do, as my question, you know, could I do that? Could I provide that? So I just bought myself a cheap old bass drum, and then I started playing it with a beater and recording various pulses and lines and things like that. And we've been sort of building things out of that, so that it has more of a rhythmic undertone than the previous album, but it's you know, the rhythm is being provided by a bass drum, basically, played with by hand. And I think it makes it sound different and makes it sound interesting, you know.
What about good for you, man? What about I on the Bandcamp? I noticed also the sketches of Brain, the unfinished song. Why you end up? It's very good, but why was the motivation of releasing them?
What was the point?
What was the point of releasing them to the public?
Because I put them out there for free in case anybody was interested.
It's very good stuff, man. Yeah.
You know, well, thanks, but it's just it was never finished. And I suddenly found all these old tapes, and I was, you know, some of it was from cassettes. So I was sort of like investigating and digitizing them and thinking, oh, wow, I'd like to play around with trying to master these things just to learn about mastering and things like that. And I was enjoying doing it. So I thought, hey, I'm going to put these on Bandcamp and people can have it for nothing. But, if anybody has heard my In the Meantime album and is interested into the state of my brain at the time, then maybe they'd be interested in this. But I'm not charging for it. It's sort of, it's a curiosity.
Yeah, it's very good, actually. Yeah, I like your stuff. I want to bring your attention a couple of gigs. Any memories from the Night of the Prog Festival in Germany in 2018? There were a lot of great bands there as well. The Sea Within, Riverside. You have any memories? So
yeah, sure. I mean, we played there twice.
Yeah,
and both times the weather was amazing. It was beautiful sunny day, and it's in a beautiful spot right by, you just go down to the edge of where the fences are and then look down, and you're looking down the Rhine. Beautiful. You're quite high up, and it's just a beautiful part of the German countryside. And it was a great, really relaxed, very friendly audience, and that was great. We did that with Ton and Jason, and then we did it with Pete Jones.
Yeah.
I think, unless I imagined the whole thing. It's possible. I'm imagining lots of things these days. I can't remember, actually, now I come to think of it. But, yeah, I don't remember at all. But anyway, I don't remember.
That's okay.
But I remember that as being a very good gig. The one that I remember is...
the one that you remember was a good...
It was very good indeed.
The other one that I saw last night was the one that you guys did at the Royal Albert Hall in September 2018. It's on YouTube. It's a very good show, man. Very good show.
Yeah, well, that was at the end of quite a lot of gigging that year. I think that's the biggest tour we've ever done, really. We did it in 3 bits. We had the festival in the summer, and the festival's sort of time, and then we had in the spring we went to Japan, Turkey, Israel, and then around Holland and a few other places, down to Spain, Portugal. Did we do Portugal? Can't remember. Anyway, we certainly did Spain, and and then we did the UK. There were a few days off, and then we did the UK part. And then the very last gig of the whole year's worth of gigging was the Albert Hall. So, by that time I think most of the time we were pretty good, actually. It was a really good tour. I really, really remember that very, very fondly, because it was such a joy to play. Well, Pete Jones is such a genius, the keyboard player. He's... when we first discovered him in 2016, we did the Japanese, one-off 5-day Japanese thing. There was a festival and some other club gigs, which is on the Ichigo DVD. That was the first time we played with Pete, 2016. And so 2018 was the next time we had to get together. And, Pete can play anything. He's such a gifted musician, and with an amazing voice. So it was such a joy to be back into a 4-piece lineup again, which the 4-piece lineup for me is totally ideal because it's more organic. Everybody has their little space, and you can you trade off in that, within that space in the center of you all. And so before, we were rehearsing down at Real World Studios for about 3 weeks before going off to Japan at the beginning of that tour. And that was just so much fun that, I think that came over in the live shows, because it was perfect with Pete. It just made the whole thing, we're all very different personalities, but it made the whole thing gel together in its way. And we would spend a lot of time we would rehearse all day at Real World and have some dinner, And then in the evening, we would just jam. We would just go and have fun. And that really brought us together, I think. You know, it developed a kind of a fluidity amongst us and a sense of fun in music, you know, that amongst us. And that definitely, for me, that energy transferred into playing the numbers, you know, playing the songs as we've rehearsed them, because they're quite complex material. So we always play an arrangement. We're not really jamming when we playing the set, but you know, it was just that energy that we had and the confidence in each other that transferred to the gig. And so that for me was one of really the most enjoyable tour. You know, that year was great musically, very fun, very satisfying. Yeah.
you mentioned Spain again. Well, your next tour will start in Spain, right? You're playing in April 27th. You're playing Madrid. Then you go to Granada, Cadiz, Barcelona.
Are we? Okay, I don't really know. I mean, I thought I heard that we were sort of starting in Japan, but.
Well, the website is maybe they will.
Maybe okay, so maybe they haven't released all the dates yet. There will be more dates added. I think it's a matter of confirming all this stuff.
Yeah, you need to go for somebody to
but there will be more.
Yeah, and nothing this year. Toward the end of the year.
Oh, I think towards the end of the year, I've heard rumors of a rehearsal.
And usually they are.
And I know that last time I got a message from Andy, it was a couple of weeks ago, as I was on holiday, and he just said, you know, I'm writing a lot, doing a lot of writing. So who knows? I don't know.
They call you and they call you, okay.
It's good to ask me too much about, you know, what's happening with Camel in the future. I just don't know. You know, I mean, if they call me up and I know where I'm going, but you know, until then, I've got plenty of things to be getting on with. You know, and that's the thing. So I'm happy working away here, and then I'll be happy to get the call and say, well, this is where we're going, because I've said, okay, I'm free, you know, and then it's up to them to sort it all out.
What does music mean to you?
What does it mean to me?
Yeah,
that's a very good question. Basically, I think that, and I've always been like this, I realize now when I look back, I've always been translating, you know, hearing a soundtrack constantly in my head of one thing or another. I hear music and there's no one there, you know. So for me, that's a kind of a natural thing, is that, you know, you're hearing music. And I think that music is, well, as I've discovered by the people that I've met, that I've played with over the years, music is indeed that cliche, the universal language.
Yeah.
Because I've played music with people whose language I don't speak very well. Yeah. And they don't speak mine very well. I've worked a lot with Indonesian musicians, you know, and in Indonesia. So I've been there working with those people, and I'm a bit slow on languages. I've managed to learn a bit of it, but, you know, so I've learned to be able to play and work on things with musicians with whom, actually, a lot of them we don't speak the same language at all. So, but it's, you know, it's done through music, and it's pretty clear when you speak in music, you know, is you two people, you know, and he's playing this, and you know what you can hear. I can speak that language, you know, so, and that's how you communicate, and with a smile. and and sharing something.
Yeah, I asked the same question to another musician last week, and the person told me, "Well, music to me is the soundtrack of my life."
Yeah,
and I keep on thinking about that. For to me, right? I told you, Colin, I've been listening to music 50 years, 4 hours a day, every day, right?
Yeah.
I have I don't know, my music collection is about, 5,000 CD, like 3,000 vinyl, 1,000 Blu-ray. I have a lot, right? I have a lot. I buy more than I can listen to.
Yeah.
So what it means to me, I think it's like magic. I don't know. It takes me places. Let me give an example.
Yeah. I would concur with that.
On Friday, when I was beginning Question, I was re-listening to the album from Camel to give an idea about the question to ask you. I have CDs, but so I put like a headphone. I drink a couple beers, and music takes me places. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe it.
It's
the world is better with music.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if it were up to me, I would send. I would send the guy music for him to forget about the war with Ukraine and let the other people alone. Man. It can be a beautiful thing. If you are depressed, or you lose your job, or a family member die, then music can.
Totally.
It's a healing process, whatever that means to everybody, right? So.
But it's a way of getting. It helps you to resonate with parts of yourself, parts of your psyche, parts of your mind, parts of who you are. It resonates with that, and it resonates on an emotional level, and therefore it's a language that doesn't need to necessarily explain anything. It's a language that is there to invoke something, to set something off in you, and to resonate with your emotional side, whatever that might be. Whether it's you're moshing in the pit with it's the same. It's the dopamine. It's the same process that you're being subsumed by the music. And whether you're at a classical concert, or whether you're grunging down the front in the mosh pit, or you're sort of like celebrating at a dance, or I don't know.
And what you say,
live, being alive. That's
right. What you say is very important. You can be playing with a guy from Indonesia, a guy from Japan, a guy from China, a guy from Chile, assuming that you don't speak those languages, and you don't have to use the human language to communicate. You use music to communicate.
Precisely.
The drums start playing, and you start with the bass, and either the guitar goes, and that's communication right there.
Precisely. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. We need more. We need good music and more, and make more peace in the world, man. We are killing the planet, and we are killing human beings, and nobody cares, and nobody can stop Putin, whether you or this or that, whatever. We live in crazy time. The COVID, how many billion live and die all over the world, and we need more peace, and if we destroy this planet, we will go to another planet, and they will destroy that again, and then 100 will destroy another. We I don't know. I'm not that positive.
I think the world is a challenging place. We face very many dangers, and that I don't think we're all totally aware of at the moment. I certainly not, but I'm trying to piece things together because there's I don't know, talk about Putin, talk about but actually when you look around, there's no good guys in charge.
No, and also United States have got in trouble with other countries, so I'm not blaming. I'm using Putin as an example, but as a world, as a society, as humanity,
of course.
People, a good example, people in the United States, they're always thinking about money and financial means and throwing away food. And, you know, you go to a garbage can or a rich family, half the food is thrown away. And people in Africa, countries in Africa and cities, they don't have public water, never mind a car. I'm talking about public water, food, basic food, you know, maybe it's too dry there. So you cannot, you know, the family cannot plant vegetable like you do with your wife. And it's, I'm sad about this stuff. I don't know whose fault it is. You know, the people perhaps in Africa unfortunately were born in poor countries and they don't have the means like you and I, and the weather is crazy, so they cannot plant, you know, vegetable, fruit, or apple tree or whatever, and they are stuck. You know, you were born poor, and they end up dying poor. You know, and the country doesn't give a damn.
This is, you know, it's a very, I totally agree with you, and I totally agree with your emotion. I try not to be sad. I try to I don't know, I try to be positive, you know, and just be local. That's why I like being here in this little communal area here, is that I can have interactions with people who are totally different from me, but nonetheless, and they're surface interactions, but nonetheless, I have learned that just on this local basic community level, where nobody knows who I am, or if I am someone or whatever, I don't know, you know, some people have found out, but, you know, well, anyway, I'm just a normal guy. So, who happened to learn to play the bass. But, you know, there's kind of surface interactions that I have, but I'm totally aware that I can influence
absolutely
in a positive way, just, you know, the situation, the day-to-day situations that we find myself in with other people, you know, and just by a comment, just by a talk, just by being friendly, just by, you know, to which most people respond very positively, you know, then, you know, without trying to get into the complexity of what's wrong in the world today, because it's very, very complex. And it does concern me that a lot of people see things in too simplistic ways, you know, as if there was a good and a bad, and there was a right and a left. And these things are sort of becoming meaningless, and not so much good and bad, but we all have our ideas that, you know, one side is good and the other side is bad. Whereas actually this is much more complex than that, you know, and if any person thinks that they are so dogmatic in what they believe that they think that other people are inferior for believing the opposite, then you're not going to get anywhere. That ends in war, that ends in grief and misery. What we have to try and do is that, despite, you know, differences of opinion, to be able to discuss these without killing each other.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And, you know, and from your business point of view, right, you are in a position to help a lot of people out, right? So, of course, you need to make money, you're your wife, and keep the business running and, you know, paying the bills. But, you know, all the leftover, the food that you know, the vegetable, you know, that you'll not be able to sell because they will stay there sitting on the shelf for a week, you know, give them away, help other people, you know. If everybody do, like you say, you know, help locally, right? I don't have to worry about the problem in Africa, right? I need to help my own neighborhood, you know, my own area, right? If everybody does the same, the world will be a better place, I suppose. This doesn't grow with making.
Well, I think that we have to, whoever we are, you know, have to sort of entertain the idea of doing this, of like opening, being a little bit more communal in our ideas, of pooling resources and things like that, because, you know, things fall apart, you know. I mean, it's, you know, with energy and, you know, big pressures to actually, for, you know, to there's kind of pressures from all sorts of vested interests that are affecting these these changes in the world. And I think it's important to try and recognize where these vested interests lie. And I believe, I don't know, but I think that it's, you know, there's a reason why things are getting more expensive, and there's a reason why the whole money system is changing. And it's in a state of change at the moment. And so it's like there's the old model is winding down and there's got to be a new model brought in, and some people have vested interests in bringing this model in, and you've got to be careful of all that. I think you have to try and see who's doing what. Difficult. But you know, so in the end, a positive thing to do is to act locally.
Absolutely, you know. I can think here in the United States. You know, there's United States, the richest country in the world, I think, and you go to California. I was in Los Angeles recently, and homeless people everywhere. I mean, U.S. citizen or foreigners or whatever.
Seen things like that.
How in the world? People in the United States, they don't have a place to crash. They don't have food to eat.
It's extraordinary.
Millionaire, billionaire.
Yeah, and meanwhile, especially during the pandemic, you know, there's a very small amount of people who really made a lot of money. And are even stratospherically richer than they were before, and they were already rich. So, and yet, meanwhile, the trickle-down effect is not working. You know, we live in great. But I'm happy that you're putting music, like you mentioned, in the background and playing good stuff. That makes people happy, man. I need to visit your store one day, man. We need to. Yeah.
I would like to see your music collection too. We need to do like you mentioned, the radio program, man. I have only a couple more questions for to left. Looking back at your musical career, what moment are special to you? Any regret or thing you would have done differently? You know, it's very easy to look back and say, man, I should have done that or whatever, but.
Of course. When you look back, you always sort of notice that you missed a certain opportunity somewhere, and perhaps because you were being stupid doing something else. I don't know. You know, sure. But you know, what's the point? You know, I mean, I think of worrying about that. You know, you can learn from it. Of course, it's good to learn from realizing mistakes that you've made in the past, but there again, now you're a different person, so you know, you've just got to say, you have to go ahead with a kind of positive attitude. That's a cliche, but you know, to take joy out of what you're doing at this moment. You know, and sometimes I can sit here and I'm trying to write something and I'm going, you know, and that's you're because you can't switch this stuff on, you know, but you have to channel it, you know. And actually this is one thing that I've got to give a shout out to this person. But I had a sort of like an epiphany moment that I couldn't really begin to act on until sort of now I realize that I've been able to appreciate that more in recent years. But when I was with Steve Hillage band and we played in Madison Square Gardens, and I was backstage and there was, you know, like Atlantic Records were there, Ahmet Ertegun, Todd Rundgren was there, and, you know, and I felt like we did a gig and it's really rushed, and actually now I hear it on the CD that's come out. It's actually pretty good, but we're really bursting through the numbers, you know, tempos are up. And but I think it was just kind of like the kind of the overwhelming of the thing, and I just feel I didn't quite connect with it, but we went through the motions, and I can hear now I was playing okay, you know. I didn't miss anything, but it was just a state of mind, which is also interesting. Why do you get into these states of mind? What is it that you're unsatisfied with about yourself? I don't know. But I was sort of like, I guess I was sitting there with a can of beer, sort of, or standing there, sort of, not talking to anybody, you know, and sort of like with my own demons. And this guy called Michael Narada Walden, who was is a producer, drummer, very excellent drummer, and he was friend of Todd's, I think, and with Atlantic Records. So he was producer at Atlantic Records. And he was sort of dressed very light colors and sort of radiating good health and calmness. And, you know, he just came up and said, "Hi, man, how you doing? You know, did you enjoy the gig?" I think he was just sort of saw I was standing on my own. So he was just a very nice guy who came over and started talking. And I said, "Oh, yeah, you know, oh, hi, you know." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you know, somehow I didn't feel like I really connected with it. It was all, it all seemed to happen so quick." You know? And he said, "Don't worry." He said, "Don't worry." He says, "Don't forget, you know, you're just the vessel. The music comes from up there."
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, the music comes from up there, and you know, it just passes through you, and you're the vessel, and you serve it as best as you can. And it's something like that. That's how I've always remembered it. Anyway, exactly how he said it, I don't know, but it was the concept of that the music was coming from the universe, it was coming from somewhere else, and you're the vessel, and you can choose, if you like, to, by inference, I sort of thought about this afterwards and thought, you know, yeah, you can choose, if you like, to polish your vessel and make it look nice and be ready to receive and and create the beautiful things that are around us. You know, but you've got to learn. You're a transmitter, like you with your radio show. There you go.
Yeah.
But you know, that is, you're channeling these beautiful things through to try to communicate with whoever is receiving it. And that's how I've started to think, and that helped me sort of write some music over the years, kind of like just sort of it's very tempting to sort of formulate things, and but I found that it's always worked best when I've sort of just started and going with an intuition, going with a feeling. And that, I think, with the intuition is sort of, that's part of being intuitive about what's there to be received.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also living in the present is important.
Yeah.
I used to be the person that was, you know, worried too much about what I'm going to do, or looking back in the past, you know, why I did the decision or that decision or whatever. And I'm trying now to enjoy my life better, live in the moment, live in the present. I have no idea if I'm going to have a heart attack today, or I'm going to, or next week, or 10 years from now. I don't know. I want to live my life and make sure that I'm clear with my family, that I'm clear with God, and I have done something meaningful, right? I want to
tell the truth.
I want, you know, you've got nothing wrong with making money, nothing wrong with owning radios and this or that thing. I got you, but if that's the only thing you have done, well, that's something to worry about. So I do the right thing, help people out, and do this world a better place. Whether you write a book or you plant trees or whatever, do something good for humanity, help people out. I grew up in a Catholic family, right? So I know that, you know, some people have less than you and I, and try to make this world a better place, if you will. So if my time to go from this life to another life tomorrow, or if 40 years from now, you know, do the best you can as a musician, as an engineer, as a doctor, you know, try to do the right thing in life. That's very important. And listen to good music too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the last question, Colin, feel free to elaborate on your website, your Bandcamp mentioned, so the listener can buy your music, you know.
The list of, sorry.
Yeah, feel free to elaborate. You give the name of the website where people can buy your music, your Bandcamp.
Okay. Well, so, you know, if it's colinbass.bandcamp.com.
Yeah.
But you know, you can just go to Bandcamp and search for Colin Bass.
Yeah.
And you'll see some of the things I've been doing there. You can buy or just download, or you can just listen to it. Bandcamp, if you buy things through Bandcamp, they do, they take their commission, but it's not a large one. And so, that's the most agreeable deal for the musicians, really. I can only praise Bandcamp. It's a really good marketplace. And so people, it's like I put that little thing out for nothing, but some people gave me some money for it, and some people were insisting on throwing money in the hat. So, which is always lovely, so always appreciate that. But, I wasn't going to charge for it because I didn't think it was really a finished album, but if people enjoyed it and they want to, what's this thing that people do on social media, buy me a coffee, this kind of thing, that's the way a lot of people are sort of managing to sort of monetize their little part of the world, so I'm all for that. But Bandcamp, search for me, Colin Bass, on Bandcamp. I've got a website which I'm still working on. It's got a few interesting bits in there, I think, but I really, I'm sort of writing my book, so I'm sort of I'll start serializing it there, and that's colinbass.com. But I'm so busy with so many projects that the book writing is still very slow process.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And anyway, you got to think too much about talking about yourself, and I would rather talk to the universe through the music.
Absolutely,
or even though there's a desire or to sort of want to write some things down.
Yeah.
Before I'm not here anymore, but. Hey, life is ephemeral, and who knows?
It was very nice talking to you.
Is it all so important? Is it all so important? It's as important as you think it is.
Maybe it isn't. I don't know who I am, but make this world a better place. Be happy, do the right thing in life, help people out. That's what life is about, according to me. But my way of thinking. But it was very nice talking to you, Colin. So hopefully we'll meet up soon. We'll share a couple beers.
A pleasure, yeah.
And then we'll get together with Andres somewhere.
Maybe we can get together with Andres. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Camel for the first time. I've never seen you guys play live, and whether in Tokyo, whether in Spain in next April, we need to get together, go out to dinner, after the gig or whatever. And so. Yeah,
I always like a good dinner.
What do you prefer? You are a beer type of guy or a wine type of guy?
I guess I'm a wine kind of guy.
I got you. Yeah.
I like good wines, and I don't like drinking bad wine.
Yeah. Well, I will bring you some Chilean wine, though.
Yeah. I've enjoyed some very good Chilean wine recently. Yeah.
Good for you. Well, say hello to your wife. Hopefully, good luck with the business, man, and we'll be in touch very, very soon. It was very nice talking to you, and we'll get together with Andres very soon, man.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Thank you, Claudio.
Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much, man.
Bye.
Bye.